God we will follow.
Hi there, welcome to Trinity Talk Live, water cooler conversation from a Christian's perspective. I am Lori Hinman, I'm today's host, and we are here to talk about our Guatemala project. We're going to kind of recap our years of what we've done, and we're going to kind of talk about the impact of what those trips have done for us personally, but also the impact that we think it had on our village and future plans for that. So let's get started. First of all, I want to introduce you to our panel here. These people that I twisted their arms to get here. This is, you can start and tell me how many trips you've been on and what got you started.
So I've been on 7 trips, 20 times up the mountain. I got started because of a desire to move Trinity into add another mission world of international ministry.
I'm Marty Carlin. I've been to Guatemala twice. I went in June of 2018 and then on the June trip this year.
I'm Cindy Duvall, and I've been 3 times, and I got started because I fell in love with mission work years ago when I was going with a different company.
All right. I want to kind of go back to the beginning of the project, and Mike, I'm going to have you walk us through how we got connected and just briefly recap, like, what was the original intention and then what we've done.
So we found out about the project through Children of the World Choir, and I had felt a calling to move into international ministries. I know that the women led by you had already started doing some international ministries,
Right.
but I wanted to see it opened up more to the congregation as a whole. So we found out about the Village Project. You and I researched, did some exploratory trips, and fell in love with not only the organizations, but with the overall thought of adopting a village and making friends and connections over a long period of time.
All right. Since then, we've done a bunch of trips with different, and every time we go, we've taken different groups of people. So, Marty and Cindy, you guys have done different trips. Some of them are build trips, some of them are medical trips, and each one had a different focus. But what I really want to get to first is, why did you decide to go to Guatemala?
Well, like I said, I decided to go to Guatemala because I love mission work. I do the adult trips here within the United States, but I just feel a big need to do the international work because God says go throughout the world. And my very first trip, I fell in such a need for help for these people because we have all of our basic needs met here, and they have so many needs just for basic. They don't have clean water, they don't have education. There's just so much that just breaks your heart when you go, and you can't help but go back. And I just felt the impact that we were making on our village because we kept going back.
Right.
I felt like I wanted to do something outside my comfort zone. And that was definitely outside my comfort zone. But I fell in love with it.
Was it a good outside your comfort zone?
Yes.
There's always there's like good outside and not good outside.
That's why I went back. It was good.
Cool. So every trip we went on, we started with a water project, and then we did school repairs and the medical clinic and a couple build trips, and then we built a church. So the next question I want each of you to answer is, when you went on a specific trip, and you can pick one if you want, but what did you think you were going to accomplish there? But then really, in reality, as you look back on that trip, what did you really accomplish?
My first trip in June of 2018, as you know, that was kind of the trip that it took us 2 extra days to get there.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that could go wrong kind of went wrong.
14 days to get home.
And I didn't know what to expect because that was my first trip there. And I didn't know what the build was going to be like. I really had no idea. And after the trip, I thought, wow, during the 2 days that we had to spend with each other trying to find transportation for 21 lost people and hotel rooms and stuff before we got there, we bonded. I mean, we really bonded as a group.
Yeah.
And then working on the school and watching the villagers come, help, meet us there, excited to see us. The schoolmaster, Julio, the ear-to-ear grin on his face every single day of the week and helped us. I felt like I have to come back here.
Yeah.
I felt like everything I did there was appreciated, and definitely it felt good, helping.
So that was the school repairs trip, right?
Yes.
So we did a lot of painting, we did a lot of concrete work and
Yep.
some other things in the school. Julio, the headmaster, actually worked with us. So what do you think we accomplished? That was tangible stuff. What do you think we accomplished the intangible stuff?
The relationships with the kids, in Bible school and the games. I think they started out first not sure. Oh, here's all these people coming out of cattle trucks with bright yellow shirts on.
Right.
And then by the end of the week, we were getting hugs. They were coming up to us and wanting us to take their picture and feeling very comfortable with us.
Well, for me, the relationships that were most amazing to me were the moms, because when we first started, I want to say my very first trip, maybe 3 moms, 4 moms at the most, and they were usually there because they had their little ones with them, and they had a couple other children that were in VBS, and that was probably the only reason that they were there. And then it got bigger and bigger, and then this last trip was just simply
Crazy.
amazing, the relationship, and every one of them wanted to hug us and thank us, and then to have those 2 dads. We never saw the men ever in all those trips, and then we had 2 dads, and they hugged us on the way out the door. It was just, the relationships were definitely built.
Yeah, to see that go to over 90 moms in the last trip was just,
Yeah.
we were scrambling every night going, we don't have enough supplies for tomorrow. What are we going to do? And
Yeah, we had to cut things in half to make it.
We made it.
So, Cindy, what are the tangible things that we did for the moms group, and what are some of the intangible things that we'll leave with them?
Well, I think the tangible things we did was the teaching. I think it was the first time a lot of them were told that they were beautiful. It was the first time they've ever heard that they were important to the family, that they're the rock of the family. Because you could just see they would look at you like, me? You're
Right.
talking about me? And I think we left with them just a sense of, you could almost see in their faces and their posture, they stood a little taller.
Yeah.
And they were more open, and they wanted to talk to you, and they wanted to show you things, and they just blossomed. In
Yeah.
3 years, the changes in these women in this village were just unbelievable. So I think we left that legacy to them. And the smaller things, I hope they'll, when they pick up their, whatever the crafts that we did with them, it'll remind them that God loves them and we love them. And that we'll never stop praying for them and thinking about them.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we tried over the years was really to build up the moms, because if you can change a mom, you can change a family.
Absolutely.
And we knew that going in, and it was, it takes time to build up relationships. You can't just go into a village and expect the people to trust you. Like you said, we're just a bunch of people in bright yellow shirts that
Coming
come
out of
through
trucks.
the cattle cars, But over the years, you build up that trust, and you could tell that by the end, you start with 3 and you end up in 95 or whatever crazy number we had that last day, that trust was there.
Yes.
And they knew that they could expect certain things from us, but the last 2 trips especially, but 3 or 4 trips, we did, we specifically went with the intent of building up the confidence of the women
Yes.
in the village. It's not a women-dominated society,
Yeah, and
you know,
that's-
at all.
Yeah, because that was very true, because we would get into doing things like going and getting there, and the moms were, when we would go to work, they would ask for 5 men to help work.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
They didn't think that the women of even in our
Our group,
group,
yeah.
could grab a pickaxe, lift the shovels, move
Right.
concrete. You could tell that that's how society was.
Mm-hmm.
And to build up the moms to say they can do this
Yeah.
was a huge plus for the village.
Well, you saw that because the moms started helping us. They were picking up the rocks. They were picking up the
Yes.
shovels. They were kind of almost pushing us out of the way, wanting to do this for their village. Whereas before, they were just at home cooking and taking care of the kids.
Yeah. So Mike, what about you? Pick a trip and tell me what the tangible things we left and then the intangible things.
I think one of the most, in January, I know we did that was the medical trip.
Mm-hmm.
We met probably 75 to 80% of our village, because everybody wanted to see the doctors and the nurses and figure out what's going on. We learned a lot about the medical conditions of our village. A lot of ways it was a lot worse than I really thought it
Yeah.
was. But the other things is we gave out food bags, and they were just so happy. We give them a bag of food that wasn't much bigger than a basketball, and that would feed a family of 4 for 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
So it just had rice and beans and protein powders, and that was food for a family of 4 for 3 or 4 weeks. You learn to appreciate a lot of things. But I think that was also the first trip that we gave out photographs.
Was it? I can't remember. Yeah.
And we'd been taking photographs for all the trips, but the first trip that we took back, probably a stack of about this big of pictures, and they swarmed us, trying to just get a photograph of them so they could take it back with them.
Right.
And it created a trend that every trip after that, we brought 500 to 1,000 pictures with us and just gave them out to the kids.
Right.
And the funny part about that was that then they started posing because they
Yes.
knew
They
the
would
next time
come up
that
and
we
ask
came,
us.
they were gonna, they'd
To
get
take
their
the
pictures
picture.
back. So
And
that
it went
was
from
funny.
just pictures of the kids, and then all of a sudden moms would come over, grab all of her kids and want
Right.
a family portrait of all of them. And it just showed
was
that
fun.
we were building the relationships. The most thing was that they started to know us. They started to really see us when they came in. They were happy
Emma.
to- Yes, Emma.
Emma. They all wanted to talk to Emma.
Yes. And so they really wanted to, they just accepted us. By the time we were done, it got harder and harder to leave
it did.
because we were now part of the family.
Right, right. The last trip we did, the church, I love that project, and I know that some people will think, well, you're a church group. Why wouldn't you have built the church first? Why wouldn't that been the first thing that you build? And so when I explain it to other people, I use Carlos Vargas' words. He's the person that's in charge of Hope of Life, and they're our partner on the ground in Guatemala. And what he says, you kind of have to earn the right to present the gospel. So, people in need can't hear you above the rumble in their stomach.
Right.
So if you're not going to feed them, you're not going to clothe them, you're not going to give them medicine, that kind of stuff, their ears are not going to be open to hearing the gospel. So this last trip, we got to do the church, and that was really cool. I loved Pastor Johnny and just the smile on his face when we gave him,
Yes.
the paraments. I hope he really understands, the whole thing of, those were our church paraments here, that we want him to share in our history. So I hope that came through in our broken English and Spanglish that we try to do over there. So I really liked the church trip. I thought that was really cool, and I think it was the first time I really feel like that church, that community church, felt like, okay, you know what, we are a community now. Like, we're a church community. And I just could see that with him, and I could see it with the people in the pews. They aren't really pews, but in the seats of the church. But so I wanna talk about the impact. So we've been working for 4 years. Mike and I've been working for 4 years. I don't know. I lose track. See that we were just trying to figure that out this morning, right? 2016, I think we started that. So what's the impact that we had there? What do you think the lasting impact will be?
I think there's a quote from Bill Barkaloo that sort of summarized it. We sort of had two camps running in all of the trips, in that we had groups doing VBS and Mom's Group, and we had people, especially on the last one, building the church. Mm-hmm. And he said that they were, the group really building the church was building the physical building. Mm-hmm. Those of us doing VBS and Mom's Group and that sort of stuff were building the church.
True.
So we were getting the word out, and then the building was the place for them to continue what we were doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So building, building a church in two senses. Yeah, that is, that's the one that you hope sticks. You hope the gospel sticks, that we tried hard over the years, to try and show that it wasn't us that was providing for them, it was God providing for them. And we really tried to hammer that home, especially this last trip. Right. We didn't bring the money. God provided the money for us to give to you. And you really hope that sticks. Like, you really hope that that's the impact that we have. But what else? What other impacts have we had?
I think the biggest impact from being in the medical field is the impact that we had was the clean water.
Oh, yeah.
Because without clean water, you cannot be healthy, because you can continually expose yourself to the parasites and everything else. And I think if we can keep them with the clean water, they can get healthy, they can learn because they feel okay. They don't, like you say, their stomachs aren't rumbling, they're able to focus, and maybe our impact will be that a few of them will be able to leave the village to be educated, to maybe come back and help the village, or, whatever way they impact Guatemala in a positive way. Mm-hmm. That's awesome as well.
How about you, Marty? What do you think we left there?
I think we showed them that there's a group of people out there that just wants to help them be the best they can be, and to help have a community. I was kind of surprised at the response to the church. I was surprised to see the old ladies, the grandmas, coming down that muddy hill to be there.
True.
It was wow. So I think the church is going to have a long-lasting impact too. Now that they have somewhere to go, that's whether they worship there on Sundays or have other group meetings or just use it as a gathering place.
Right. Yeah, and the church is kind of more in the middle of where all the villagers, where the school is sort of at one end. So we affected them physically with the water. We affected them spiritually with the church, and we, hopefully affected them with the medical trip, health-wise, and the school. We affected, hopefully, their education. Education, if you talk to any of the people, like all the interpreters that we've talked to over the years and things, they all say education's the key to the future of Guatemala. And it's interesting because there's so many, you can tell the moms in the village, most of them don't know how to read. They don't know how to write, and some of the kids don't either, because remember in the beginning we were asking them to sign their name on their pictures, and some could not, and you would ask them their name, and some could tell you, and then some you could tell we're not going to offer that information. But it's been interesting to see some of the older kids, as we went 3 years in a row, you could see some of the kids were really getting a whole lot more on the ball with their education.
Yes.
Like, I felt like there were certain kids that, as we kept going back, you could tell they were keeping up with their schooling.
I think we stimulated their education too we did the school repairs, we did the bathrooms, we did the playground, and then all of a sudden they kept adding classrooms, they kept adding this.
Right,
this.
that's true,
So
yeah.
the school kept growing after we helped do the initial work on the buildings.
Yeah, because we didn't even know, but they had built that extra classroom in between our January and our June trip. They
Yeah.
were actually building another space, which is great because it means that more and more kids are coming.
Yeah.
Let's go right down that education line and talk about child sponsorship. And let's talk about the effect that has on our particular village with respect to education and care. Anybody want to just give a general idea about child sponsorship?
Well, I sponsored 2 of our children. One of them he's not totally deaf, but he is mostly deaf because he was born with his ears closed. So I'm hoping that by getting him good, healthy food, which is part of the child sponsorship,
Right.
he has to be in school. If he's not in school, I don't know how many number of days he can miss, but if he's not in school, then he's dropped out of the sponsorship program.
Right.
That sometime down the road, he'll be able to get his ears opened, because I just got the letter from him, and he would like to be a doctor, and that he would be an awesome doctor because he would be able to relate to people with other disabilities like himself. But the huge thing that it's going to make is having those kids go to school, because I always felt like there were never any kids in school. I know that week that we come,
Yeah.
they don't go to school, but I just felt like, do these children get an education? Do they
Right.
have a chance to get an education?
Yeah.
But if we can sponsor the children and mom and dad have to be responsible for them to be in a seat and they have to learn, that can change that village
Right.
dramatically.
Right.
And now that our village is opened up to sponsorships, you get some education, get some medical, get some all these things, and it'll help the village even more with all the sponsorships that are now available
Right.
to our village, along with all those kids are now able to be sponsored.
Yeah, and we still have quite a few kids that could use sponsors. So we have that information, and I'm going to put my email on the screen. If you want to sponsor a child from our village, we would love that. There's some very cute kids that could use your support. It's $35 a month, and that goes through World Help. So we want to definitely have you consider that. That is a way that we can impact this village for the future and continue the work that we did for the 3 years project-wise that we worked on. So I want to thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate your time on a Sunday afternoon. I am going to ask you to click the like button. That is the thumbs up button on right next to the video, and I want you to also please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of stuff on there, kid stuff and adult stuff and apologetic stuff and Trinity Talk Live, of course. Share this video if you like what you saw. And you think someone could use this information and maybe they want to sponsor a child. So share that video, please. Like our Facebook page, follow us on that, Trinity Joppa channel. And we are back in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about tips for organizing and prioritizing your life. And we're going to talk about that with Greg Durwart. So thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great day.
In your word we will follow.